Hello students. As you know, in the previous class, I have started with the essay of myself by Abraham Cooley. I have given you an introduction to the author and to the essay. Today I am going to start with the text of the essay of myself. Let us begin. It is a hard and nice subject for a man to write of himself. It grates his own heart to say anything of disparagement and the reader's ears to hear anything of praise for him. So Cooley says to write about your own self for a man is nice. At the same time, it is difficult to do so. Why? It grates his own heart to say anything of disparagement and the reader's ears to hear anything of praise for him. Because writing about own self is like grating your heart, crushing your heart. If you criticize yourself, disparagement means belittle or degrade yourself. On the other hand, you cannot praise yourself as a reader cannot bear with this. There is no danger from me of offending him in this kind. Neither my mind, nor my body, nor my fortune allow me any materials for that vanity. But Cooley feels that he has no such danger of hurting his readers in that way because he is neither a person who indulges in self-love and nor his mind, body and fortune allow him for such pretension or self-admiration. It is sufficient for my own contentment that they have preserved me from being scandalous or remarkable on the defective side. He feels satisfied and says that his situation or his temperament saved him from being controversial or being disgraceful or noticeable on the bad side. But besides that, I shall here speak of myself only in relation to the subject of these precedent discourses. Precedent discourses means his essays. But here in this essay, Cooley says he will talk only in reference to his earlier essays, and it is possible that he shall be likelier thereby to fall into the contempt than rise up to the estimation of most people. That it is possible that some readers will hold him in contempt rather than praising him, and they can be critical about him. Next he says, as far as my memory can return back into my past life before I knew or was capable of guessing what the world or glories or businesses of it were, the natural affections of my mind, of my soul, gave me a secret bent of aversion from them, as some plants are said to turn away from others by an antipathy imperceptible to themselves and inscrutable to a man's understanding. From here, he starts talking about his life at young age when he says, as far as my memory can return back into my past life. As far as he says, if he recalls his memory up to a time when he did not have a good understanding of this world and its activities. Before I knew, I was capable of guessing what the world or glories or businesses of it were, the natural affections of my soul. His soul showed a hatred. My soul gave me a secret bent of aversion from them. His soul showed a hatred for the world and its attractions. And then he gives an example of plants where he says, just like some plants who have natural tendency to not to be touched. You know, some plants are sensitive to touch. In the same way, writer was different from others. And some plants have a slight hatred for touch. They are sensitive to touch, and that a man finds hard to understand. When he says inscrutable to a man's understanding, he means a man cannot be defined by us. Why? do they behave so? So the writer is comparing his behavior to those plants who are different from other plants in nature. He is speaking here of his temperament and his bent of mind. Even when I was a very young boy at school, instead of running about on holidays and playing with my fellows, I was wont to steal from them and walk into the fields either alone with a book or with someone companion. When Cooley was a young boy during his school days, he did not care for holidays and playing with his classmates. That is an activity that every child likes. What he used to do? Instead, what he used to do, I was wont to steal from them and walk into the fields either alone with a book or with someone companion. He would sneak away into some fields either with his book or with a friend like him, having the same temperament like him. So author loved to be left alone and he sought seclusion from others. I was then, too, so much an enemy to all constraint that my masters could never prevail on me. Constraint means control. Cooley did not like restrictions on himself, control on himself. His teachers tried to teach him. When he says, to learn without book the common rules of grammar in which they dispensed me with me alone, because they found I made a shift to do the usual exercises out of my own reading and observation. His masters tried to teach him in the regular way with rules that were common to everyone, but he always made a shift by using his own understanding. When he says, I made a shift to do the usual exercises out of my own reading and observation. He used his own imagination, as he was gifted with good imagination. He used his own understanding and he used to use his own understanding and observational powers. So he was a different student from the lot. That I was then of the same mind as I am now, which I confess I wonder at myself, may appear by the later end of an ode which I made when I was but 13 years old, and which was then printed with many other verses. And he has not changed much since that time, the time of school period. He is still the same person. He is here mentioning an ode which I made when I was but 13 years old, when the author was 13 years old, and he printed it along with other poems. He is talking about Poetical Blossoms, a collection of poems that about which I have told you in the previous introductory class of this essay. So the beginning of it is boyish, but of this part which I here set down, if a very little were corrected, I should hardly now be much ashamed. So it was a composition by a child, and where he has stated his expectations from life, and he calls this composition a boyish, a composition by a child. This is the ode that he is talking about. Let me read it out for you. This only grant me that my means may lie too low for envy, for contempt too high. Some honor I would have, not from great deeds, but good alone. The unknown are better than ill known. Rumor can ope the grave. Acquaintance I would have, but when it depends not on the number, but the choice of friends. This only grant me that my means may lie too low for envy and for contempt too high. He says, or he is wishing here for a balanced life, not too high, not too low. That might cause jealousy or hatred in others. Some honor I would have, not from great deeds, but good alone. He wishes for honor, respect that he will earn not from his deeds of some exceptional degree, but from some good deeds alone. The unknown are better than ill known. You might have heard the Hindi phrase that goes like badnami se gumnami bhali. So it is the same when he says an unknown person is always better than a person with ill fame, a notorious person. Rumor can ope the grave. Bad reputation leads one to his end. Acquaintance I would have when it depends not on the number but the choice of friends. He wishes for friends but only the choicest friends. He would have limited number of friends that he would choose by himself, and books should not business entertain the light. Next he says books should be used to contribute to one's knowledge rather than for materialistic purposes. Books are the means of earning knowledge, not earning money. And sleep as undisturbed as death, the night. He wishes for an undisturbed sound sleep at night, like death. My house a cottage more than palace, and should fitting be for all my use, no luxury. His house should be a simple one than a luxurious palace, suitable for his simple needs, no great comfort he is demanding for. My garden painted over with nature's hand, not art's, and pleasure's yield, Horace might envy in his Sabine field. And a garden with no artificiality, decorated by the hands of nature itself without any human interference. Not arts and pleasures yield, a garden that will give him pleasure. Horace might envy in his Sabine field. And even the Horace, the Roman poet, would feel jealous of his garden. Why? Horace was gifted by his patron, country palace. His patron was Maecenas. So Maecenas gifted Horace a garden that was so grand and luxurious in its build. So he says even Horace would feel envious of his simple garden. Next stanza. Thus would I double my life's fading space, for he that runs it well twice runs his race. And in this true delight, these unbought sports, this happy state, I would not fear nor wish my fate, but boldly say each night, tomorrow let my sun his beams display, or in clouds hide them, I have lived today. Thus would I double my life's fading space. And that's how he wishes to expand his life. Fading space means his declining age. He wishes to expand his life, his lifespan, by planning it well. For he that runs it well twice runs his race. He states here, who lives his life well lives two lives in just one life. And in this true delight, these unbought sports, this happy state, I would not fear nor wish my fate. Delight and happiness would be the ultimate goal of his life, and that he would attain by this way, by living this way, living his life this way. I would not fear nor wish my fate. He is not afraid of his fate, nor he is wishing anything from it, but boldly say each night, tomorrow let my sun his beams display, or in clouds hide them, I have lived today. He has complete belief in himself, and he would boldly say each night he will be hopeful for the next day. My sun, when he says, let my sun his beams display, my sun here refers to his hopes and aspirations. So even if his ray of hopes will be hidden by clouds, he will not feel dejected. I have lived today, as he had lived in the present. If tomorrow or his future is not according to his expectations, he will find satisfaction in his present. So author's optimistic attitude towards life is displayed here. And even at the young age of 13, it's very interesting to note that even at this young age of 13, how beautifully yet simply he has laid out his life vision in this ode. I think I should stop here. I'll continue with the rest of the essay in the next session. Thank you.